Week 7 NFL picks presented by Amazon. I'm Chris Hassel, and we've got a weird week for you. The top 3 teams in Pete Prisco's power rankings are all off. Bills, Eagles, Vikings, idle. So are the defending champion Rams. And none of the 3 primetime games feature a single team with a winning record. A preview of the Thursday night kickoff.
Week 7 in the NFL kicks off in Glendale with the New Orleans Saints and the Arizona Cardinals both sitting at 2-4 in desperate need of a win. Not much has gone according to plan for the Saints this season, who haven't been at full strength for much of the year, especially on offense. And the defense, which was considered by many as one of the better units in the league on paper coming into the season, is in the bottom 5 of the league in points allowed per game. But they still only sit a game out of the first in the NFC South behind the Bucs and Falcons, so no better time to turn their season around than on Thursday Night Football.
The message is just keep grinding, keep working. We haven't made enough plays to win these games, but we've given ourselves opportunities.
On the other side, things aren't exactly clicking for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals either, who have been held to 17 points or less in 3 out of their past 4, including an embarrassing loss in the Emerald City on Sunday to the Seahawks, with the offense unable to find the end zone. A highly disappointing start to the campaign for Murray, who the Cardinals rewarded with a rich contract extension in the offseason. But like the Saints, the Cardinals also find themselves a game out in their division, looking up at the 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks in the NFC West.
We're definitely not as in sync as we've been in the past. We have to get there quick because it's not good enough.
Is this the week Kyler and the Cardinals play up to their potential? Or will the Saints find a spark in the desert? 2 teams with much to prove on Thursday Night Football.
And the boys coming off a good week. Look at Brady, 10-5 last week against the spread. Pete, 9-6 against the spread. It was bound to turn after a rough start to the season. So here we go. We're going to get on a heater here the rest of the way. Chris Hassel joined by Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. And this Thursday night game featuring a couple of 2-4 teams and the Saints without a bunch of players.
A bunch of players. And on the short week, and Arizona gets DeAndre Hopkins back, Pete. And then they traded for Robbie Anderson, which, like he's a veteran receiver. He could probably go in that system. And it doesn't seem complicated, at least what we're seeing from Cliff Kingsbury and the other offense.
Oh, it's
right
not.
now. So, hey, you're fast. Go in there, run a go route. Kyler Murray will heave it down the field, and maybe it gets open. But this is one where I was saying to Jack, our producer before the show, I mean, obviously keeping track of all the injuries. Now this sets up to where I'll go ahead and lay the point here with Arizona. I don't feel great about this team, but I'll also say this to you. They're 2-4. Both teams are 2-4 right now. When you looked at their schedule, Arizona's coming into the season, and knowing they weren't going to have Hopkins, I really didn't have them being much better than this. I thought they'd be about a 3-3 football team. Where'd you have them?
Roughly about there, but that's not the problem. They've looked awful in getting to where they're at. You go to Seattle,
Philly close enough.
but you go to Seattle.
Divisional game on the road.
That defense was awful. They couldn't even score an offensive touchdown. That's pathetic. Their only touchdown came in a blocked punt. That's pathetic.
That defense is getting better in Seattle.
Yeah,
Freak Wolin's one of the better players.
It hadn't been good so far, and they made them look good. So I'm going to go with the Saints. And I know they haven't looked great on defense, which is a shock to me because I thought they'd be dominant on defense this year. But I think their defense will rally here. They'll contain Murray, keep him inside the pocket. He rushed for 100 yards last week, but you got to be able to hit those passes. No Marquise Brown, too. I know you could talk about getting Hopkins back, but he doesn't run that well, so you can, you're in a phone booth against him. So,
yeah, but again, if Robbie Anderson were
that's
to
a big
play,
if, though.
It's a big if. You still have at least some sort of speed element.
Yeah.
How fast you get.
I'm going to take the Saints. I think they're going to win the game.
Can I see this quickly? Does this line look off to you? I thought initially the Cardinals would be favored by more. That's what was fishy about it. They should be at least, I thought, a 3-point favorite.
And then we learned that Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Troutman, Lattimore are all out for the Saints, too.
Yeah, and that's part of it.
That's part of the line being what it is, I think. But I think this is going to be about their defense.
See, I think that line has a little bit to do with Taysom Hill. Because, Dalton's been banged up. Winston banged up this week as far as practicing and who's it going to be potentially. To me, Taysom Hill provides that one key foundational piece, whether he's playing quarterback or is that gadget guy. I forget what you call him. What do you call him?
The gimmick.
The gimmick.
But, they do have Kamara back, and Chris Olave is supposed to play in the game, so that gives them something on the outside.
Again, still question marks at quarterback spot. Taysom Hill, though, he's still there. He's still repping.
The gimmick.
The gimmick, the gadget.
Give him a compliment.
Whatever you want. Saints.
It's the gimmick. He's great at it.
Looking to avoid their worst start in 10 years, by the way. If they lose this, they fall to 2-5. It is now time for Pete Prisco's Spinning Top of the Week.
Okay, this one was right in our backyard because the left tackle, Greg Little, was the worst lineman I've seen in a long time play. And his buddy next to him, yeah, he's from Notre Dame.
I was just saying, this is all about the Notre Dame.
No, I mean,
You've done it twice so far this year. You try to go after Quentin Nelson. Now you go after Liam Eichenberg.
Well, and Liam Eichenberg was bad. He was bad. I mean, just take a look, and you're going to dispute some of these plays. I know how you always do. You defend everybody.
One of them, I think we had a touchdown pass.
Okay, let's take a peek at this, all right? Just look at the backside, the quarterback. They don't handle the stunt very well. There you go.
It's almost like maybe Eichenberg has played a lot of tackle. Now he's playing.
Here we go. Let's take it. There he is, defending the Notre Dame guy. There you go again. What do we have?
both.
We have a little twist. He's holding, gets away with it, but he's twisting, and boom, there he goes. I mean, that is bad. Now, I get it. Little's a backup, but you got to be better than this. You were a pretty high draft pick. Here we go, right off, and run him right back into him and sack him. It's just bad. It was a bad.
That's why the Vikings brought in Smith, though. I mean, real.
I mean, here we go again. Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter should win that.
They're both getting beat here, by the way. Just one gets there quicker than the other.
No, well, one's going to be a penalty on Tomlinson.
There you go. And all game long, it was tough. So, yes, Greg Little was worse, but your Notre Dame buddy wasn't much better.
Okay, but he was also drafted to be a tackle.
But
not
he's a guard now.
And he is a guard, but there's still a learning curve to all that.
How many games in is he
Okay,
now?
you played guard in high school,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, you're in a lot more close proximity.
Correct.
You play a tackle, it's more on an island. Then you've got to figure out a way of combining that skill set
He's 6
with
games
someone
in
else who's
training
a
camp.
backup.
6 games in
It
training
doesn't
camp, and you're
matter,
making excuses
Pete.
for him.
It takes a while to get on the same page.
If he went to-
especially, just hold on, especially with a guy that you haven't played with next to you, to pass off games and get that. Any O-line coach, any O-lineman would tell you that. It takes a while.
Chris, bingo. Remember, we said he would defend him.
The only time you haven't defended the spinning top of the week is when you were at home last week. I think you kind of went with what Pete said
What did
last
you have
week.
last week? I can't remember.
It was the Chiefs' tackles.
But that was, I mean, it was bad.
By the way, if Eichenberg had gone to Arizona State, he'd get the same treatment. So.
And that's fine, but you have to be understanding when you
I
pick a
understand,
guy
but
who is a
it's
tackle,
6
it's
games
transitioning
in.
to a guard, and he's playing with somebody he hasn't played a
It's
ton
6
with.
games in, and he had training camp. You're a pro. Do your job.
Were you ever a spinning top in high school?
Yes,
Never.
I probably was.
Never.
Really?
He probably got
Never.
bull rushed too.
I don't think we threw very much either. I used to tell the coach, it's time to throw the ball, damn it. Let's throw it.
Oh, of course.
Dolphins and Steelers this week, Sunday Night Football. We'll pick that game a little bit later as Tua makes his return. All right, coming up here on CBS Sports HQ, we move to the Sunday games. Dak returning for the Cowboys. What kind of a difference is that going to make? Can they cover the touchdown spread against Detroit? HQ presented by Amazon. Only 3 early games on CBS. Lions and Cowboys, with Dallas likely getting Dak back. Ravens 6.5-point favorites against the Browns, and the Titans and Colts battle for first place in the AFC South. Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco here to pick the games against the spread. Let's start with the likely Dak return for Dallas.
Oh, so there's not a quarterback controversy anymore. We're not, Dak's going to come back. They're not waiting.
BMAC tried to make it a quarterback controversy. He denies that, but he did.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, though, who I think followed that trend just because they saw the team have success. Now, remember, their defense was playing well. They were running the football well. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot. We saw him asked to do a lot more last week versus Philly, and we saw how that worked out. So, look, bottom line is Cooper Rush did exactly what he needed to do during the period of time he was in there. He helped this Dallas team stay right in the hunt of the NFC East and an overall playoff picture, so kudos to him. It's now time that Dak comes in and he starts showcasing really what this offense can be. I think throwing the football down the field with that rushing attack. So, look, at that number at 7, it seems like kind of a big number, especially versus a Lions team that they're coming off the bye. They looked awful the week before that, but we know they can score points. I'm willing to lay it, though. I think the Lions may have a hard time protecting Jared Goff in this one. And so I'll lay the 7 points with the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm with you about something. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it will be a high-scoring game. By the way, I heard rumors out of Texas that the Cowboys receivers got together on Monday night and had a giant party because they actually might get the ball down the field once in a while now. I mean, Cooper Rush is what he is. He's a backup quarterback. You are what you are. If you look it up in the dictionary, I said it last week, as game manager, there's Cooper Rush's picture. He threw for 200-something yards. We saw him get exposed last week. You are what you are. Dak Prescott can play quarterback, and he's going to be good in this game. They will drive the ball down the field. They haven't been driving the ball down the field. They'll get back to that, run the ball, take some shots. Dak Prescott will be fine. The Lions' defense is awful. It's absolutely pathetic. and I think they'll move the football on them. So I'm going to take the Cowboys. I'm usually with you. I don't like laying the points, but I'll take the Cowboys, and this is going to soar way over the total.
By the way, at taping here on Wednesday, we don't know officially if Dak's going to play, but he's been medically cleared, and he is going to throw the football on Thursday.
Wink,
it's all
wink.
It's all moving in the direction of Dak playing in that game. Let's move to an AFC North matchup. It's one of 3 divisions right now without a team over 500. Browns 2-4, Ravens first place 3-3. They are giving 6.5 at home.
You're giving 6.5 at home, and look, it's a tough place to play. Divisional game though, and Cleveland. I don't care how you want to dissect their record. They probably could be, but probably better, a little bit better than the record says. And I know they really struggled last week versus New England, but give Bill Belichick and that staff credit. I mean, he's the one laughing now. People were giving a hard time about Matt Patricia being the play caller. All of a sudden, the offense is looking pretty good with a rookie third-string quarterback and Bailey Zappi is playing for them. So maybe that's more of an indictment on how Cleveland looks. But I do think they match up well versus this Ravens defense that I think they're going to have a hard time stopping the run. I think Jacoby Brissett will make enough plays to keep this one close. So I'm taking the 6.5 points here in Cleveland. I just think these two teams will play each other close in this one.
I'm going to go on the other side on this one. And I don't love it, but I think when you look at the Ravens, they've been blowing out teams and then they can't hold their leads. And that's been a concern. And I think they're getting better on defense. The offense had they dominated the Giants last week. They had over 200 yards more total offense and they lost the game. I think they're going to be able to handle this defense of the Browns, which has been bad, by the way. You talk about the
pieces have been bad.
But the unit as a whole has been bad. They've just been bad. When Myles Garrett's on the field, he's not bad, but a lot of guys have been bad.
Deion Jones is able to step
Yeah, I mean, so I think they're going to be able to move the football on them and score a lot of points. I don't know if the Browns can. By the way, Jacoby Brissett threw terrible interceptions
He looked
last
bad.
week. He was bad. And
that was one of those where you look at it and go, all right, is that a lot of Bill Belichick, a kid he drafted, he knows some of his weaknesses from his time there? You got the sense it felt a little bit like that. I'm more curious, too, if Deshaun Jackson will have any impact whatsoever on this Baltimore Ravens offense, at least in the week's time since he's signed there. He's passed his physical. He's good to go. He's obviously experienced in making plays down the field. But I wonder, too, if there's a little bit of admitting a mistake of trading Marquise Brown to the Cardinals because you needed that guy with speed. Now you're bringing an older
Bateman's
veteran.
been hurt, And
But that's fine. But you still,
he doesn't run like that either, though. I know.
You still got rid of a fast guy. Now you're bringing in a fast guy to try to basically.
I'm with you. They need to be better on offense as well at times.
Haven't been able to hold leads. They've led every game by 10 plus, and they're just sitting there at 3-3. To the AFC South and the battle for first place between the 3-2-1 Colts and the Titans, who have put together a couple good games.
They have, and they're coming off the bye. They should be well prepared for this particular one, but. You got to love what you've seen out of the Colts. They've just kind of hung around, and they had that earlier win versus Kansas City when things were not looking good. But Matt Ryan lit it up last week. I'll take the 2.5 points. I like where this thing's going. I know the Colts have not had success recently versus the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are on like a 4-game win streak or something like that. Something tells me, though, that passing attack is starting to come around. The defense is starting to come around for Indy. I'll take the 2.5 points in the Colts.
They gave up over 200 yards rushing last week to Jacksonville. I mean, they got gashed.
That's fine.
Derrick Henry's sitting there going, let's go, baby, because he's run through them and around them and over them and for most of his career, and I think he's going to do it in this one. You're right. Matt Ryan played well last week. He got the ball out of his hands. By the way, they shuffled the offensive line. I think they finally settled on a group that they like. They played Dennis Kelly, the veteran, at left tackle. They made Matt Pryor, who was playing right tackle, go back to guard. And he's playing inside at right guard, and Braden Smith is now playing at tackle. They looked better last week, and I think that's good for Matt Ryan. He did get the ball out quick. I think he'll do that here, but I think the Titans are going to run on him. And I think Derrick Henry, this is an enormous game for Derrick Henry. I'll take the Titans to roll. And they take a hammerlock on the division.
A hammerlock on it.
Grab it, man.
Grab it, all right.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel has been great when given a lot of rest. With 8+ days rest, and they are coming off the bye, he is 8-0 straight up and against the spread in his career. Recapping the picks here for the CBS games for Pete and Brady. They agree on only the Cowboys -7, although they did both say they like the over 48 in that one. Brady didn't make an official total pick there, but he thinks there will be a high-scoring game. Ravens and Browns, they differ, and so do they on the Colts and the Titans. Up next, the two hottest teams against the spread this season. The Falcons 6-0 against the spread. Bengals have covered in 4 straight. They go head-to-head this Sunday. All right, picking the rest of the early games, the Bengals hosting the Falcons. The Bucs, again, double-digit favorites because they're playing the last-place team in Pete's power rankings, the Panthers. Packers trying to turn their season around. They're at the Commanders after losing a couple straight to the New York teams. One of those teams, the Giants, is an underdog in Jacksonville. Some intriguing games here. Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco are going to pick them against the spread. No team has been better than the Falcons against the spread. They are 6-0 against the spread. The record is 9 straight to start. Will it continue into a 7th game?
I don't see it happening, but it was part of my hesitation in picking Cincinnati in this one, was looking at it and saying, we've underestimated this Falcons team the entire
Pete
season.
had him dead last in the power rankings.
Well, look, and give Arthur Smith a lot of credit for the job that he's done. The rest of their staff, obviously their players too, for buying in. They're finding ways of winning football games. The defense got a couple of turnovers from Jimmy G last week. Running the football, they're able to kind of do it sometimes by committee if it's not Patterson. They're just kind of a scrappy, tough team. This is a different challenge, though. On the road in Cincinnati, you and I both know Joe Burrow's got this thing back going again. And I'll just say this. I said before the year, Joe Burrow for MVP, I think we're starting to see that him start to make that case for himself with what we've seen the past few weeks.
I don't know if he's in the MVP conversation.
I'm saying
yet,
he's building toward.
But I'm with you that they found it. They're back. They're back to playing. They had to struggle with teams playing the off covers. They've learned how to deal with it.
Wasn't healthy.
Yeah, and they've learned how to deal with it. And I'm not worried about the Bengals offense. I think this is a great spot for them against the Falcons defense that isn't that good. Grady Jarrett's playing out of his mind, but the rest of that defense is just okay. I think they'll be able to hit them down the field. I think the Bengals are one of those teams that actually will end up being a contender in the AFC. There aren't many, by the way, but they will be one of them, and I think they start getting it going. They've been on the road for the first 6 games. They get back home. I think this is a get-right spot for them. I'll take the Bengals minus the points.
All right, both on the Bengals -6 against the Falcons. The Bucs are once again double-digit favorites, -10.5 at Carolina. Any kind of wedding or party that Tom Brady might miss walkthrough for this week?
I don't know, Pete. I mean, you got any parties or anything going on that Tom Brady's going to come visit?
I can take Tom to a Fishtails if he wants to go. If he wants to miss walkthrough.
Get a little package going on a Friday night?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, at this point, look, they're not going to have any problems with Carolina in this game. I mean, it seems like everyone's on the trade block. P.J. Walker starting a quarterback in. It's not an indictment on P.J. Walker, but they've had their issues offensively.
Darnold's coming off the list. So.
He is, but P.J. Walker's going to start for this one. So Darnold may be active for it, but that's at least what the reports are saying now. I'm more concerned with that front and the defense taking on that Tampa Bay Bucs offensive line that Tom Brady had to scold last week. We'll see what they look like this week, but I'll lay the 10.5 points. Carolina at this point, you already fired your head coach. Steve Wilkes kicking guys off the sidelines. Where do they look to go to vacation in Carolina? What's the spot they look to?
Oh, they go to Aruba. No, they go to Aruba.
Okay.
They go to Aruba.
So they're probably already making their plans for.
Oh, they're making their plans. In fact, I bumped into one of their PR guys in Aruba once. How about that? True story. True story. I walked off a pier after having a few, and there he was. And he said, "Hey, Pete, what are you doing down here?" And I go, "I come here all the time."
Was it October?
No, this was in. I can't go anywhere in October. I'm a prisoner of the football. You know that. Look, I think this is a bad spot for the Panthers. I think when you look at them, they're bad. Offensively, they're bad. Defensively, they're not. They're better, but they still have some issues there. And I think the whole Robbie Anderson thing isn't a good look for Steve Wilkes. Have to deal with that, and guys aren't. I think guys are checking out, which is never a good thing.
It's probably why he did that.
If I was an offensive lineman on the Bucs and Tom Brady was yelling at me like that, I would have said, "Hey, at least I was here on Saturday, chump." I mean, seriously, that's not the week to be yelling. You go fly away and you don't fly with your team. We killed a guy once in this program for not flying back from a game with his team. Remember that guy? I remember him. He used to coach in Jacksonville. You fly with your team. I don't like it. I didn't like what he did. It's almost like you're above everybody else. You're Tom Brady, and maybe you're the greatest player in the world, but you got to be part of the team. I'm sorry. 10 days off, and then it's different. So
I understand your point, and I think there's a part of me as a player too that it rubs the wrong way, and seeing that be the moment where he's going to get after those guys. But he also is Tom Brady, and Bill Parcells would say as good as anyone else, you're not going to be able to coach every single guy the same way. There are some exceptions to that. I think the hard part is he didn't play overly well.
No.
You can't ask those guys to be accountable for their job if you're not playing well. And look, forget the Robert Kraft wedding. He's got a lot of other stuff going on right now that's been public too. So probably not the best look to be taking your frustration out on a young offense.
Bill Belichick didn't go to the wedding. That's all you need to know. He did not go.
Yeah, and meanwhile, he was beating the life out of the Cleveland Browns.
He didn't go.
So.
He didn't go. But I like the Bucs in the spot because I think the whole stuff will get pushed aside. Plus, they're playing the Panthers.
You mentioned the Wilkes thing, though. I think he has to do that in this position. When you're
I agreed with him.
No one's expecting you to be there. Maybe after the season, whether he's got a shot of it or not, you got to set a tone. And that's the thing is, if he's chewing out one of the other coaches, you can't allow there to be some sort of mutiny. So
I agree.
I think he had to do what he did.
Oh, I'm not faulting Steve Wilkes for doing what he did. Absolutely not.
Bucks struggling, but 10.5-point favorites there. Packers also struggling, 3-3, but they're favorites on the road in D.C. If they lose this game, the Packers will be under 500 through 7 games. That's never happened since Aaron Rodgers has taken over.
It's incredible, really, going back and watching the tape of this team. I mean, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have much confidence in some of the guys he's throwing on the outside. That seems apparent. But it's more so what they've invested into the defense. I mean, 2 first-round picks this past year. You can't stop the run. They are awful at stopping the run. And it's been their Achilles heel for how long now? I mean, how many times do we have to watch the Green Bay Packers get to a conference championship game and they can't stop the run? I mean, we have to watch this time and time again. It is crazy to me. And at some point, there's going to be someone held accountable. And
Joe Barry.
Well, you could say Joe Barry, but it's been previous defensive coordinators too. When Mike Pettin was there, that was always the narrative. They can't stop the run. Is it Brian Gutekunst at this point, since he can't get in the personnel to do it? Is it Matt LaFleur at some point where he's overseeing it? I mean, we can say what we want about Aaron Rodgers, who seems apathetic at times out there, and they seem lost offensively to figure out what they can hang their hat on. But to me, that it's concerning that no matter what they do offensively, they can't stop the run. Jared Alexander can only be so good in coverage. The rest of the secondary only so good in coverage. They can't stop the run. And look, I don't know if the Commanders can run the football over the well. I know this much. Taylor Heineke can run the football a little bit too, and he'll add to that rushing attack. So it's one of the reasons why, look, the Commanders haven't been good this year. There's no doubt about it. But I'm willing to give him a shot, keeping this thing close within that number. I'll take the 5.5 points, the home underdog. It's been a big trend this year, and Heineke with the way the Packers have looked thus far.
I'm with you. I'm going to take the points as well. I think this will be a good game for Brian Robinson to really show what he can do. Like you said, they can't stop the run. They're little. That's part of the problem. They're never big. It's never a big team. And they also have a reputation for not being a physical team, that people beat them up. We've seen it over the course of Aaron Rodgers' time there. They get pushed around a little bit. I think they're going to get pushed around this way. I think they'll win the game, but I think it's going to be tight.
Pete, you're flashing that chain this week.
You like that, don't you?
Man,
He's got the Paisan passion.
Hey, by the way, Aaron Rodgers' offense is starting to look a little like the one a couple of years ago where they don't have a lot of motion and pre-snap movement and stuff like that, Brady. And I know he prefers that, but they seem to have success when he was moving guys around a little bit.
Well, moving guys around in part because you're trying to obviously give different looks, get different matchups and all that. Part of the issue, if he doesn't want them to move around, is you got to be on the same page with those guys you're throwing to.
Right.
Because what you're then trying to see is, the defense is going to move around, but ultimately you know exactly what you're going to get from them. And in that way you can be on the same page with the receiver to make your route adjustment based on the coverage. Well, if these are young guys you don't have a lot of trust and faith in, you're going to have a hard time pulling the trigger, and they're going to have a hard time executing.
So you just tell them to go here, you go here, you go here, and just run your route then. That's basically what they're running, the ISO routes again.
What I'm saying is you can run those ISO routes if you know exactly what you're getting in coverage, and you can trust that guy no matter what the coverage is. I can throw you a ball that you'll catch it because we're on the same page. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is on the same page with anyone out there right now. I mean, Randall Cobb left the game last week because he was banged up. Watson wasn't playing. He had the hamstring injury. I think Dobbs is getting there to be one of those guys he can rely on. Lazard might be the only one. But
he doesn't run.
They missed Devontae Adams, I think, more than they realized.
Yeah, he doesn't run. They have no speed, by the way, until the young guys get going. And they will get going at some point. But until they get going, they look like a slow team.
And that's fine because the reality is they just need a possession guy. They need someone that he can rely on and go make a contested catch because they don't have anyone that does that.
And he hasn't played that well either. Let's not let him off the hook.
I'm not. I mean, look, he hasn't. But at the same time, they also there's no one really out
the
there.
The offensive line was bad last week. It was just a bad game for them.
Well, credit the Jets. Quinton Williams should be in the conversation right now for maybe defensive player of the year.
Absolutely.
Lost to the Jets and Giants in back-to-back weeks. Now 2 games behind the Vikings in the division. Minnesota's off this week. Speaking of the Giants, they have been great as underdogs this season, Pete. 4-0 straight up as a dog, and they are a dog back in your hometown.
They are a dog back in my hometown, and I'll be honest with you, I think this is a weird line. The line smells. It's stinky. It's rotten. It stinks.
Which way does it stink?
You have the 2-4 team favored over the 5-1 team.
So what do you think the line should be?
It should be pick 'em. Okay. And so for that reason, I'm taking Jacksonville. I think
it's fishy to you, huh?
If you look at what's given Jacksonville trouble, it's passing games. It's the pass teams that can throw it. Shaq Griffin can't play.
The Texans can't really throw it.
They didn't give him trouble. They scored
13-6, whatever it was.
Yeah, they didn't score any points. I'm talking about like last week. Matt Ryan threw for 389 because they can't cover the pass. They don't rush the passer that well. Well, they are pretty good against the run. And so when you're playing the Giants, you stop the run, you put it on Daniel Jones. Plus, I think there's a natural letdown for the Giants here. That's a big game they won last week. They shouldn't have won the game.
Right.
Give them credit for it. They found a way to win it. But I think they let down here. I think Jacksonville wins the game and covers the number.
I'll go ahead and take the 3 points. I like the momentum of what Brian Dable and the Giants have done this far. And you might be right. Maybe as far as the matchup between these two teams, it's not a good matchup for what the Giants do well versus what the Jaguars would try to take away. But if you're Daniel Jones and if you're Brian Dable and you're watching what you're seeing, if the Jaguars are struggling in coverage, you might be saying, yeah, we're going to open it up. Like at some point, we're going to have to start throwing the football more. We can't rely on Saquon Barkley our entire season. He's already kind of banged up enough as it is at this point. And I also think the Giants' defense has been a lot better than I thought they were going to be.
Wink Martindale's done a great job.
He's done a tremendous job, and you know what he likes to do.
Blitz.
Especially versus a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. If he feels like there's an issue with anything he sees out there, he will dial up some blitzes. So I like the momentum of the Giants. I don't know if they win this game, but I think they keep it really close within that number.
And Trevor Lawrence has never won as a favorite. Hasn't been favored many times, but 0-3 in his career straight up when he has been favored. All right, only one game that these guys do not agree on here in the early window on Fox, and it was that one right there, Giants and Jags. They like the Bengals -6 against the Falcons, Bucks -10.5 against the Panthers, and give them those 5.5 points in D.C. for Washington against Green Bay. Up next, we go to the late afternoon games featuring a rematch of a recent Super Bowl. Jimmy G and the Niners against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. HQ presented by Amazon. Looking at the late afternoon games. The Jets, slight dogs against Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Raiders and Texans both coming off a bye. Rematch of Super Bowl 54, Chiefs and Niners. And Seahawks Chargers as well, with LA favored by 6. We're going to start with the Jets and Broncos at 4:05 Eastern time on CBS. The Jets, they just keep on doing it. Leger Douzable is never going to let you let go the start of the season when you said the Jets would start 0-9.
Did I say that?
That's what he said.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people saying that. It's not what I said. But they're still not favored in this one again,
Nope.
which is actually what I said. They wouldn't be favored in the first 9 games. Give them a lot of credit, though. I mean, they went into Lambeau, and they beat the crap out of the Packers.
Yeah, every way, shape, or form.
Up front on both sides of the ball. Special teams had a block punt for a touchdown. They blocked a field goal as well. They went in there and they dominated. Now, look, I don't think that's going to be the case necessarily against Denver, even though Denver's got a lot of questions, too. I mean, you got Russell Wilson now who's got a hamstring injury to go along with the lat injury he's dealing with before that. They can't seem to put together a consistent game from him. There's not much of a running game. And you're looking at a defense that will give up some yards to the run. So the way this shapes up for the Jets again, if this line was any bigger, I might be looking at taking those points to the Jets, but at 1.5, I'll go ahead and take the Broncos. I don't feel good about it, though. I think the Jets have some young pieces in Sauce Gardner, who's up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Quinn Williams, who I said earlier, I think should be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Breece Hall's been outstanding. All those young players are starting to step up.
Russell Wilson has a lat injury, and now he has a hamstring.
Yeah.
I think he has an eye injury. He needs to get his eyes checked because he doesn't see anything anymore. I don't know what he's doing. He's playing awful football. I mean, terrible.
The last 3 quarters. The first quarter, he was great.
Yeah, when it was all scripted out for him. He's been average to below average, okay, and that's being kind. And maybe Seattle knew something. Maybe Seattle's the smart one here because he's been terrible. Jerry Jeudy looks lost. Cortland Sutton doesn't run. The running game isn't great. The offensive line isn't good. It's a bad offense. Now, having said all that, I think the defense is going to win this game. I'm going to take the Broncos defense to rise up here, get short fields. Even Russell Wilson can score touchdowns on short fields. I'm going to take the Broncos -1.
I'm worried about the matchup of those wide receivers with the cornerbacks on the outside.
I agree, but short fields. Short fields.
So what, field goals? A lot of field goals between these two teams?
Russell Wilson can score touchdowns on short fields.
I'm worried about that defense. I don't know if it can be stopped Brees Hall. I'm on the same side with you here, but I'm literally talking myself into wanting to take the Jets here.
It's just a bad spot for the Jets. You go to Green Bay, you win a big game, you start
back-to-back weeks
road
in a
games.
row.
That's
Okay.
right. And you're feeling pretty good about yourself. You go beat Green Bay, now you get to go out on the road, a team that you think you might be able to beat.
What about the quarterback skills, Pete?
Boy, I tell you what, it's a lot closer than we would have thought before the season.
What's the quarterback skills,
Oh, it's
Pete?
still Russell Wilson.
Okay. Well,
But by the end of the season, it might not be. Maybe having the top-ranked defense for 4 straight years and a great running game really covered up the liability that was Russell Wilson, baby.
And it still has a really good defense. Problem is they're last in the league in scoring points, just 15 a game. All right, another game at 4:05 Eastern Time on CBS features a couple of one-win teams coming off bye weeks, Texans and Raiders.
to me, this is that get-right game for the Raiders. If not now, then when? And I think it's where Derek Carr opens up. Their offense explodes versus a Houston Texans team that I'm not really sure what they're going to be the rest of the season. Obviously, they made some front office changes this past week. They are coming off the bye. Both teams rested prepared for this one, but it's kind of a big number for two teams that haven't looked good this year. I just think overall the Raiders are the more talented team, and this is that moment when they start to kind of climb back into things. So I'll lay the 7 points.
I don't know. People were happy in that building they got rid of that guy out of their front office, Jack Easterby. Since you won't name his name, I will. They got rid of him, and they wanted him out of there, and he's out. And so, but what does that mean for the team? Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't know he was coaching the team.
He thought at times he thought he was coaching the team. That's part of the problem. I think this is one of those situations where both teams coming off the bye. I think the Raiders will be at home. They're the better team, and you're right. They're they're supposed to be a good team. This is desperation time. I think that plays into it. I think Carr plays well. I think Jacobs is having a fantastic year. I think he plays well, and I think the Raiders cover the number.
A couple of the games at 4:25 Eastern Time as well. Tough spot for the Chiefs. I mean, you have that huge game against Buffalo. You lose it, and then you got to go on the road to San Francisco, and you have to give points.
Yeah, giving up 3 in this case. I'll lay the 3 points, though, and in part because I don't have much faith in what I saw from Jimmy Garoppolo last week, turning the football over. Some concerns there, some concerns maybe even with the offensive line, too, and what it's going to look like versus Kansas City Chiefs defense. The other thing for me, though, is I think this Chiefs team is as good as it gets. I mean, let's be real. The Bills and Chiefs are probably the best 2 teams in the NFL. If we could somehow manufacture a way of having those 2 teams play for the Super Bowl, we'd all be happy. That's not the case here, though. But I'll lay the 3 points. I think it's a get-back-right game for the Chiefs, and especially for Mahomes with how that last game ended.
I agree with you. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that the 49ers are really banged up on defense. This is not the same defense that we've seen early in the season. They've had a lot of injuries, some in the secondary, and that's never a good thing against the Chiefs. The Chiefs' offense isn't great right now in terms of getting balls down. You saw Buffalo doesn't usually play a ton of man. They played a lot of man last week because they're not scared of those receivers. And so those guys got to prove they can win when they get locked up in man. I think this is the game to do it. I'm with you. I'll take the Chiefs minus the points as well.
Okay, that might give the Seahawks an opportunity in the NFC West. They're still a long shot, 15-1 to win the division despite being tied for the division lead. They are underdogs on the road in LA against the Chargers.
Yeah, and this is one where I'm just kind of betting on this streak of what's happened so far with Seattle starting to simmer down a little bit. I mean, it's a much tougher defense I think they're going to go up against. There's some mismatches there up front too, I would think. And then I think you look at the flip side of this, the Chargers offense should be able to take advantage of that Seahawks defense, unlike what we saw from the Arizona Cardinals. So it's a big number, but I'll lay the 6 points. You feel different about this one, though.
Well, first off, are they going to have the quarterback throw 53 passes for about 220 yards? What are they doing? It's the worst designed offense I've ever seen.
You don't want Eckler to be their leading receiver?
You have a guy with a howitzer for an arm, and you're dinking and dunking down the field. What are they doing? They're getting Keenan Allen back in this game, and somebody asked me, well, is that going to help open up the offense? Yeah, he's going to be perfect with the offense. He runs a little 5-yard crossing routes. Perfect. The design of the offense is terrible if you have that quarterback. I feel bad for him. I really do. Justin Herbert should be playing in a more wide open, get the ball down the
but
field.
You have to understand what's happening in the NFL right now. Everyone's playing this shell coverage.
I get it, Brady, but when you have the opportunity to take the shots.
And if you don't have the offensive line up front to protect, your quarterback's taking a beating and you're not accomplishing that goal.
The design of the offense is awful, and it's not working, and they need to do something differently about it. I think this is a game Seattle hangs in it. I think you talk about the Chargers defense. I don't know how good that Chargers defense is.
Is it better than the Seattle Seahawks?
Yes, but I think And also, at times, I think the Seattle offense has been really good this year. I think here's what's going to happen in this game. Walker's going to run for 160 and control the clock. That's a bad run. They're the worst run defense in the league. I think they'll run on them all day. So I'll take the points.
But you're assuming, though, they hang around a bit. I'm kind of seeing this, the Chargers get off to a faster start. It eliminates some of the ability for Seattle to run the football and hang around in that way.
Yeah, I think they're going to hang around by running the ball. I really do. I think they'll pound the ball, and he's going to have a big day. Fantasy-wise, take him. He's going to have a huge day.
We have put together a parlay based on Brady's picks because Brady likes every single AFC West team. And if you parlay that, a $10 bet gets you $132 if you got the Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, and Chargers, all of them favorites.
I mean, look, the reality is I loved this division coming into the season. I thought there was a potential chance you get maybe 3 teams into the playoffs. Doesn't look so great now. It's still early. And I think, look, the Chargers are right up there. We know how good the Chiefs are. I'm fine with that one. It's the Broncos are the ones that are the biggest disappointment. Not even the Raiders to me. The Broncos are more the ones that they're still not out of it, but that's the team that needs to start playing.
You had a great week last week, and you talked all week about taking dogs, and here you are lining up the favorites.
I love the AFC West.
Yeah.
Look,
okay.
Right. Eventually this thing is...
I have 3 of the 4 in the AFC West, so the only one we differ
it's not like
on
he's that far off.
Yeah.
He likes the Seahawks +6 instead of the Chargers. All right, we have the primetime games on Sunday and Monday, and the return of Tua. Boy, the Dolphins need him. They were 3-0 to start, but they've lost 3 straight. Can he turn things around against the Steelers? HQ presented by Amazon. We have a couple more games to pick. Sunday night, it's Dolphins-Steelers in Miami, or close to Miami, not technically within the city limits. Bears and Patriots, technically in New England. Foxborough. New England, an entire area.
Not Boston.
No, not
Not
far from
Providence.
Boston, very far. All right, let's pick them. Brady Quinn, Pete Prisco. It's not even close to Miami, is it? I mean, Hard Rock Stadium, it's not even close.
It's Miami Gardens.
Yeah,
Miami
but it's not
Gardens
Miami.
is in the name.
Yeah, but it's not Miami.
And you were one quirky guy. Let me
It's
tell
like
you.
an hour from Miami.
It really is.
All right, look, Tua is supposed to return here. Are the Dolphins are they closer to the team that we saw the first 3 weeks or the team we saw the last 3 weeks?
I don't know. I mean, all quarterbacks should take reps at this point because it seems like whoever goes in and plays gets knocked out and someone else is coming to replace them. But, this could be, if they are the team we saw in the first 3 weeks, a bad matchup for Pittsburgh with their banged-up secondary and the speed and talent of the wide receivers for Miami. The question becomes, Pete Prisco spinning top of the week is the Dolphins and whether or not they can protect versus a good front for Pittsburgh. Obviously, they still don't have T.J. Watt back, but they can still get after it a little bit. So that's what's at play here. I'm betting that it's going to take them a little bit to get going here. That 7 number looks too big to me, so I'll take the 7 points in Pittsburgh here. I got to see it to believe it when Tua gets back.
Yeah, and everybody focuses on the quarterback position for the Dolphins, and yeah, it's been a problem, obviously, with the injuries and everything else. But let's not forget about the defense. That's been one of the major disappointments of the season so far. We thought they'd be a dominant defense. They haven't been. They're not very good right now on defense.
I thought they were good last week, all things considered. You had a lot of young, new guys playing in the secondary.
Yeah,
they did all right versus Tampa.
I just don't think they're. I don't think they're very good. I just don't think right now they're playing that good. They have some injuries as well on that side of the ball. I think this is a good game for the Steelers. I mean, both teams are dealing with concussion issues with their quarterback because Kenny Pickett has a concussion as well, and we don't know if he'll play. But if he doesn't play, it's going to be Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky come in and played well. I mean, he played well when he came in. He did some really good things, and so I'm going to take the Steelers to hang around. I think Miami will win the game with Tua back, but I think the Steelers hang around a big number.
All right, Monday night, it's the Bears and Patriots. Okay, it's the Patriots though are the story here. Bailey Zappi, love to see that. The kid, totally overlooked, broke all kinds of records last year in college, prolific, but they didn't think it would translate to the NFL game. He's 2-0 as a starter.
Well, the Patriots did. I mean, he's a clone of Mac Jones. When you looked at what Mac Jones did well, I mean, he came from a bigger program, was prolific as well, but they're the exact same guy. They almost look like they could be brothers. And when you look at arm strength, accuracy, anticipation, all those things, Zappi has all that too. Now, this will be a different challenge. I think the Bears defense is probably playing a little bit better than the Browns have, at least in recent weeks. But look, there's no threat because the Bears can't score. They can't throw downfield. They can't match even what we've seen from the Patriots offense. And like Tyquan Thornton's back, their rookie out of Baylor's got a lot of speed. Like this thing's just getting started. I don't know that we've got a quarterback controversy, But I do think you don't bet against the New England Patriots at home with Bill Belichick and the way this team looks the past couple of weeks. So I'll lay the 7.5 points.
Okay, I agree with you. Right now, there's not a quarterback controversy. If Mac Jones goes back in
And plays poorly.
for 2 games, do you make the change?
I think you'd have to at this point, because if you think about it, look at the AFC East right now. You know Buffalo's obviously in the lead position to win it. But now you got the Jets at 4-2. The Dolphins, I think, once they get Tua back, will be more competitive than what they have been. And you got to figure out where you fit amongst all of that. So you can't afford to not have as high a quarterback play as possible. Most teams could say that, but even more so, I think, for the Patriots because of this division and what they're competing against. So, yeah, I don't think you can afford to go in there and have lackluster quarterback play.
I would go back to Mac Jones as soon as he's ready, but if he plays poorly for a couple games, I'm getting him out of there and putting the kid back in there.
The reality
problem is
like,
once
there's
you take him out,
nothing
can you go back in?
done that Mac Jones can't.
No, I know, but once he goes back in, if he goes out, then he goes in, can you go back to Mac Jones?
No, I think you'd look to move on after the season.
Wow.
You want to put your eggs in that basket.
Wow. By the way, Tyquan Thornton, loved him coming out, and he's starting to show up with the speed. You mentioned it. They didn't have any speed. He can fly.
Fast.
He can
I mean,
fly.
that guy opens up the entire offense.
I agree. And they're
Whether
running the
Mac
ball.
Jones or
And
Bailey
Stevenson's running the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so
He's a load.
yeah, he is. I think this offense is starting to get together no matter who's playing quarterback. I'll take him against the Bears and lay the points.
Okay, let's get to the guys' best bets. Pete, you are riding the Jags.
I am. This line is funny to me, and I like teams, by the way, who get in a spot where they take, a team that's coming off a big win. They get them on the road. That's always a good spot because you start feeling good about yourself. You start reading your press clippings and start listening to all the media.
People actually have newspapers. They go, look right there.
Well, you know what they used to do?
They're talking really well.
You know this.
What do you
That's
have over
nice.
there, Pete?
That's,
What is that?
that's the Brady Quinn Picasso.
What?
That doesn't look anything like me. That doesn't look anything like me.
Kind of, a little bit.
Kind of.
A little bit.
Looks like a drunk guy.
Hold that up one more time. What?
That doesn't even look anything like me.
It's a Brady Quinn Picasso. By the way,
I did find out I'm Italian. I look a lot more Italian in that
You're
photo.
Italian?
Oh, yeah. I'm like
Really?
a third Italian, yeah.
no kidding.
Don't
Welcome to the club, buddy.
Find out all kinds of stuff.
Welcome to the club, buddy. But the Jaguars are my best bet. Absolutely.
I've got the Chargers. I'm on the opposite side of what Pete thinks how that game's going to go. I think Herbert's going to get after it a little bit, take advantage of that defense, make enough big plays. Keenan Allen, welcome back.
You got the Chargers as your best bet?
I do.
Okay, so that would make, if in that scenario, if it comes out, that would make the Seahawks a loser.
Oh.
You stole my shtick and put it on national TV last week. Oh my
it a
God.
shtick?
It's mine.
Maybe I was honoring you. Maybe I was.
I didn't hear you say anything about honor me. You just stole it, and everybody
it's a
laughed at
it's a
it.
competing
And you
network.
were killing Clay Travis over it and everything. And
He won this past
But
week.
here I am sitting there, and I'm watching this, and all of a sudden,
I was paying homage to you.
loser.
Pete, how did it make you feel that Urban Meyer was laughing at what he thought was Brady's joke?
Yeah, he's just trying to get even for me for how much I laughed at him last year in Jacksonville. I still do it every Monday. There's an Urban
Imagine
Meyer.
the conflict that I'm in having to deal with you during the week.
The guys had a great week last week. Brady went 10-5 against
But now
the
he's got
spread.
favorites all week.
9-6.
He's changed your philosophy. I'm worried about any game I have with you. That's
Watch the tape. That's how I feel this week.
okay.
You guys agreed on 9 of the 14 games.
Yeah.
I picked all the favorites. What'd you do?
That means I did too.
There you go.
I'm worried about us.
Week 7. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Best of luck
We're gonna
this
have
week.
our best week this week, both of us. How about that?
For Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn, I'm Chris Hassel. Thanks for watching.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.